Good morning.
Good morning.
Would everybody please stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
Please pray with me if you'd like. Dear Lord, as we come together today to do the work of the people, we humbly ask you to bless today's meeting, bless the residents of St. Lucie County, and continue to guide this board as they are entrusted to continuously address the challenges brought before them. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to recess briefly for our mosquito and erosion control districts, and then we'll come back to the meeting. We'll begin with mosquito control. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Is there anybody wishing to come forward under general public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. We'll come back to the approval of the minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. The consent agenda, there's warrants. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? There's nothing on the regular agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
We'll come to order as the erosion district. First item of business is general public comment. Anyone wishing to address the erosion district? Being the movement, we'll come back to the board. Looking for approval of minutes for March 21st, 2023.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item is consent agenda. Just warrants list 24 to 27. Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right.
There's no regular agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll come back. There's no presentations. We'll open it up to the general public comment. Anybody wishing to come forward under general public comment? Everybody's going to be quiet this morning. Okay, we'll go to proclamations. Madam Secretary, would you please begin with the Child Abuse Prevention Month, please?
A resolution proclaiming April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and recognizing Hibiscus Children's Center late founder LaVon Tilton for her vision 38 years ago protecting children in St. Lucie County, Florida. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners of St. Lucie County, Florida has made the following determinations. Children are vital to our future success, and every child has the right to be safe, healthy, and happy, and deserves to receive love, nurturing, and care, and live in communities that foster to their healthy growth and development. Our children are our most valuable resources and will shape the future of St. Lucie County. In the federal fiscal year 2021, 3.9 million reports were made to child abuse to Child Protective Services. Child abuse and neglect is a community responsibility affecting both the current and future quality of life of any community, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone. Child abuse can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have lasting consequences for victims of abuse. Hibiscus Children's Center upholds the legacy of transforming the lives of children and families and embraces opportunities that can potentially change the way society cares for children. Hibiscus Children's Center honors late founder LaVon Tilton, 1925 to 2021, by recognizing her vision, passion, and commitment to create a safe space for child abuse, for abused children, which came to fruition in 1985 when she founded Hibiscus Children's Center. Hibiscus has since provided 450,000 safe nights to over 3,500 abused, abandoned, and neglected children on the Treasure Coast. Helping People Succeed is committed to providing protective factors and conditions that reduce or eliminate and promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children. Effective child abuse prevention activities succeed because of the partnerships created between children, welfare professionals, education, health, community, and faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and families. Communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that create strong and thriving children and families. We acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in safe, stable, and nurturing environments. Prevention remains the best defense for our children and families. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of St. Lucie County, Florida. This board does proclaim April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in St. Lucie County, Florida. This board recognizes and commends Hibiscus Children's Center's late founder, LaVon Tilton, for her 38 years ago to protect children in St. Lucie County, Florida. Passed and duly adopted this 18th day of April 2023.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So it was Commissioner Fowler and Commissioner Leach seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We have with us Kaliza Clark from Helping People Succeed and Will Malone from Hibiscus Children's Center. Would you join me, please? Good morning. You want to say a few words? Would you like to say a few words?
Yes. Good morning. It is our honor to receive this proclamation in recognition of April being Child Abuse Prevention Month. Helping People Succeed brings awareness by displaying blue pinwheels at our office to show our commitment with helping children live healthy and happy lives. Thank you.
Good morning. We'd like to, as well, thank you for this proclamation. Like the lady said before, we've been around since 1985, provide so many different services for families on the Treasure Coast and especially in St. Lucie County. It's sad that we still have to do this, but we do what we do and we do it really good, so thank you.
Madam Secretary, would you please read the next one?
A resolution proclaiming April 2023 as Functional Neurological Disorder Awareness Month in St. Lucie County, Florida. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners of St. Lucie County, Florida has made the following determinations. Functional Neurological Disorder, FND, is a problem with the functioning of the nervous system and how the brain and body sends and receives signals. FND affects approximately 50 out of every 100,000 Americans, but that number is thought to be low. FND affects people of all ages with onset and diagnosis as early as age 10. FND occupies a gray area between psychiatry and neurologically, and that historically has failed to gain the interest of researchers and clinicians. FND is the second most common reason for a neurological outpatient visit after a headache or migraine. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of St. Lucie County, Florida, does hereby proclaim April 2023 as Functional Neurological Disorder Awareness Month in St. Lucie County, Florida, passed and duly adopted this 18th day of April 2023.
Thank you. Could Susie Karen please join me? Miss Karen, could you please join me? Everybody's so quiet.
Haven't had their coffee yet.
No, this is, I believe this is something that you wanted to bring forward to the board, and this was on your behalf. So I'd like for you to present the proclamation, if you would. So is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries, and we have with us Laura and Charlotte George. Do you want to say a few words?
May I? Okay. Madam Chair and colleagues, and especially Ms. Bartz, thank you so much for doing this recognition. Just so you know, the numbers were updated. It's 4 in every 12 in every 100,000. It's very rare. Sometimes it's psychiatric, but most of the time, it's not that the person's creating the issue. It's that the brain is creating the issue. think of a computer, you've run out of room on the computer, you shut a few programs down to do something else. That's kind of what happens. The brain shuts down things because it's overloaded. It's really important. We're working aggressively hard to raise awareness on this. Imagine finding somebody laying down on the sidewalk and all they can do is blink their eyes. What would you do? How would you respond? We hope, as has happened many times to her, that you wouldn't bully them and instead try to offer them assistance. And this is why we're trying to raise awareness. And we thank you for your time in bringing this issue out and forward. Again, Ms. Sparts, thank you.
You're welcome.
My daughter's very appreciative. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much. Thank you.
Come down here, Linda.
There you go.
I'm very proud of my kid.
Okay, so thanks for coming out. We're gonna let them take a picture. You wanna turn them around? Go.
Sure. Like this?
I will. I'm happy.
Doesn't the chair want to be in on the photo too?
Go get one. Go get another one.
Hand this to you.
Can we put one here?
All right.
So that you're holding?
There we go. All right, ready? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I hope we talk again soon. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for being here and bringing awareness.
Thank you.
I think it's appropriate also while we're getting back to our agendas to go ahead and mention that we also, Sean Boyle, who was the Children's Service Council, is involved in both of these programs that we just did a proclamation for, and he's got a loss himself, so remember him in prayer today as we go about our day. Okay, so now we will come back to the meeting for approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to consent. Does anybody want to pull anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We'll move on to public hearings. The first item is about the Family Fun Day and Car Show. Thank you, staff. Have a good day. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Mr. Munns, who requested the appeal, does not appear to be here.
Okay.
Your
We're
microphone.
prepared to present, though.
Yes, Madam Chair, even though the person appealing is not present, I think it's important for the staff to proceed and put the documents in record and make a presentation, so whatever the board decides is supported by the record.
Okay, thank you.
For the record, Chair, Commissioners, Assistant County Attorney Catherine Barbieri. What is before you today is an appeal by Mr. James Munn, President of Give Back to Kids, of the determination of the County Administrator to uphold the determination to prohibit Mr. Munns and any entity he's affiliated with from leasing any county facility. The appeal procedure was established in Resolution 15-195. Staff is submitting for the record the following: the agenda request, the staff memo consisting of 6 pages, the exhibit list consisting of 4 pages, the exhibits 1 through 43 consisting of 176 pages. The exhibits can be broken down into these general categories: text messages from the event organizers and Elite Tactical Solutions, a private corporation who was contracted with to provide security for the event; emails between event organizers, the county, and the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office; applications and use agreements to use the parking lot; a grid showing the layout of the event, which was never shared with the county; map showing what was rented and what the event organizers actually used; photographs of the event; advertisements for the vendors showing the mobile bars; letters between the county and the event organizers showing that the appeals process as it went through; a screenshot showing how the event was described to law enforcement. And finally, we have the testimony of Deputy Lim, who was there as an off-duty detail, and he will describe the event for you. On January 16, 2023, an event labeled by the event organizers as MLK Family Fun Day Festival and Car Show was conducted at the county's Ilis Ellis Open Space Park in flagrant violation of the terms of the facility use agreement. The event was supposed to be a kids zone festival from noon until 6. Instead, the organizers held a massive wild block party with alcohol, and it spilled into the streets, blocking the streets to all vehicular use. The detailed description was supposed to be a kids zone festival, youth, and car show. In the agenda packet, if you refer to Exhibit 11, you'll see Mr. Mons' off-duty request form to the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office, prepared by Mr. Mons, and listing himself as the contact person. And in there, he described the event as a kids zone festival. Instead, you'll see at Exhibit 36 a grid prepared by the event organizers, shared only with Elite Tactical on January 9th and never shared with the county, which shows that there was going to be at least 3 mobile bars and only 1 item for the face painting. And you'll hear the testimony of Deputy Lim, who will say that there was only 1 item for kids, face painting. No bounce houses, no ring toss, or anything like that. Exhibit A to the facility use agreement lists the number of attendees as 150 people. See Exhibit 15, email from St. Lucie County employee to Give Back to Kids, and CC to Mr. Mons, who is also Give Back to Kids president, so it's both emails are to him, advising to see the attached contract and the cost estimate. On the cost estimate, you will see that we listed the number of employees as 150 people. You will, again, I will refer you to the grid, which is at Exhibit 36, which shows that there were going to be 16 vendors. 16 vendors are not what you would invite for 150 people. Exhibit 42 shows the 3 mobile bars, and Exhibit 37 and 41 showing the crowds, the event area, the debris that was left, the streets were blocked, and the estimate is over 1,000 attendees at the height. There was to be no alcohol. See Exhibit 10, email to Mr. Mons attaching the complete facility use application with circled there would be no alcohol. And Exhibit 11, Mr. Mons' off-duty request to the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office form saying that there would be no alcohol. And he was to be the on-site contact person according to his request to the Sheriff's Office. Please see Exhibit 36, event organizer's grid, showing that there is at least 3 mobile bars, one of 37, which is pictures of the event debris, and 42, which shows the 3 mobile bars we were able to substantiate. Thirst Trap, and it shows that they advertise as full bar and bottle service. Vibrant Drinks, which advertises as Sip and Get Lit, and Drunken Monkey. And again, Deputy Lim will testify there was alcohol there. Security personnel. Exhibit 11, Mr. Mons forwarded a message from St. Lucie Sheriff's Office saying that the arrangement was for 2 deputies and 4 armed security from Elite Tactical. Exhibit 25 from his business partner saying that they paid the sheriff and they were canceling Elite Tactical without telling St. Lucie County or St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office. In summary, this event was not conducted in compliance with the county facilities agreement. The purpose was misrepresented, the numbers were dramatically underestimated, and the sale of alcohol was not disclosed, and the security personnel were canceled without notifying any agency. If it's okay with the board, unless you have questions, I'd go ahead and ask Mr. Deputy Lim a few questions.
You need a microphone closer to him.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Can you please state your name and where you're employed and what your position is?
Deputy Hunter Lim with the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office, and I'm currently a deputy sheriff.
And did you sign up for an off-duty detail on January 16th, 2023?
Yes, I did.
And why did you sign up for that detail?
It was 6 hours. I got bills to pay too, and it said give back to the kids, and it seemed pretty straightforward.
When did you arrive for the event?
Approximately 10 minutes prior, so maybe 11:50.
And did you talk to anybody upon your arrival?
Yes, I didn't get their names, but they were some of the event organizers standing at the front entry area.
Was one a female?
Yes, ma'am.
And then was it one a male also?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it busy at the time you arrived?
Not at all. It was mainly just the vendors setting up and some other people mowing around.
Did one of the event organizers explain to you what they foresee happening?
Not exactly. They mentioned that it would get busier later, but didn't mention what time or how many.
Were there family vendors there, like bounce houses, ring toss, or anything like that?
I only saw one family-friendly event.
And what was that?
That was face painting at the entrance.
And were there any alcohol vendors there?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any alcohol at the event?
A lot.
And can you tell us on that day, at the height of the event, what you project the size of the crowd was?
Approximately 1,000 or so people overflowing into the streets, blocking traffic, blocked in my marked patrol car with lights on.
And would the event have stopped at 6 p.m. As you had understood it to stop when you signed up for the detail?
No, ma'am.
I have no further questions for the deputy.
Thank you. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Is there any questions anybody have for staff or Catherine? Seeing none, what's the will of the board?
May I make one more statement? I apologize. The board may uphold the staff recommendation. You may overturn it, and you could decide to do it for a specific number of years. And of course, staff is recommending that you uphold the county administrator's determination.
Okay, and it is a public comment. Is there anybody from the public wishing to come forward? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment and come back to the board.
Madam Chair, move staff recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Next, we have Barbara. Good morning. I should have just went ahead and did you real quick so you could get back.
I was trying to keep it together through that one. Madam Chair, Commissioners, for the record, Barbara Geller, MSBU Coordinator. In 2021, the board created the Culvert Assistant Program to give property owners the option to fund the replacement of failed culverts through non-ad valorem assessments. Today's resolution is the assessment resolution as required by county ordinance. The purpose of this resolution relates to the imposition and collection of special assessments to fund stormwater culvert improvements within the MSBU, determine that real property therein will be specially benefited, establish the method of assessing the cost of the improvements, and approve the assessment roll. Staff recommends board approval of resolution number 2023-51 and authorization for the chair to sign documents as approved by the county attorney.
Any questions?
Move approval.
Hang on, I got to do public comment. No questions for anybody? It's public comment. Anybody wishing to come forward? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Come back to the board. Commissioner Bartz made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Fowler, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Have a great day. We'll move on now to the regular agenda, and it's the appointment for the Planning and Zoning Commissioner at Large.
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, good morning. This item was continued from March 21st regular meeting in order to allow more time for some applicants. And with that continuance, we received additional 4 potentially qualified applicants. So all 16 were forwarded to the board to review for your consideration. We also placed ballots up there at the dais for you all to review those. And if you could take a moment and look at those ballots, and if the will of the board is to move forward, we can have you all vote on who, pick one of those 16 and send it down. We'll tally it up and let you know the results.
Okay.
Have your ballot. Oh, I'm sorry.
Give us a minute and we'll tally them up and let you know.
Everyone's at home turning up this volume.
I know.
So quiet. Wow.
So, Madam Chair, Commissioners, we'll go over the results of the voting tally and then have to take another stab at it with another vote. So, Commissioner Zadowski voted for Krista Story. Commissioner Leet voted for Michael Cook. Commissioner Bartz voted for Larry Neese. Commissioner Fowler voted for Larry Neese, and then Commissioner Townsend voted for Betty Jo Stark. So with that, we have 2 votes for Larry Neese and a singular vote for 3 others. We can narrow the scope down, or if there's interest to look at, if the board's willing to consider the one with 2 votes, we can do whichever you prefer.
If it's the majority, then he won.
There's 2 of them that way, so.
Is the board okay with that?
Well, you really need 3 for the
That's
majority.
true. That's true. Okay.
So if there is some consideration from the board for Larry Neese that has 2 votes, you guys can discuss that amongst yourselves and make that call, or we can repass the ballot down with the 4 choices and try to narrow that down even more.
What's the board want to do? Do y'all want to vote again, or do you?
Somebody can change their vote if they want to.
I was going to say, you want to re-vote, or does somebody want to change their vote? What's the?
Madam Chair, I'll change my vote to Larry.
Okay, so there you go. There's 3.
So Commissioner Leet is acknowledging change his vote to Larry Neese?
Correct.
So there's 3 that way, so if that's how the board wants to proceed. So with the 3 votes, pending a motion.
Yes, we can, if just the board ratify the appointment of Mr. Neese, he had received 3 out of 5 votes. If we could get a motion to that effect.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, congratulations, Mr. Neese. All right, we'll move on to the facilities. Is that Charlotte?
Actually, it's me, but Charlotte will be available for questions.
Okay.
She's actually the one directly involved. This relates, thank you, Madam Chair. This relates to the facilities use agreement with the New York Mets that we've had for some years. Our current agreement extends the term through 2042. As part of that, we entered into an agreement that provides for media coverage in the New York facility and also the St. Lucie facility. As you indicated, Charlotte Byerly, our tourism director manager, has been negotiating with the Mets to update that exhibit to accurately reflect what's actually being provided, and that is actually attached to the agenda item. With that in mind, staff recommends approval.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. We'll move on to item 2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item relates to a proposed resolution that would, if adopted, lower the speed limit on Indian River Drive from 35 miles an hour to, I believe, 25 miles an hour from Citrus Avenue south to the Martin County line. Just a few words about Indian River Drive. It is a unique road in our county. It actually started off many years ago as a dirt road, really. It was the way people got from Fort Pierce down to the Jensen area. It was right along the river. It was wagons, horses, things like that. And it's evolved, obviously, since then. But the important part of that is that we don't really have a lot of right-of-way. It's just the travelway itself. There's really no shoulders there. It's a fairly narrow road. It has visibility issues. There's, in the memorandum, narrow shoulder widths. Stormwater collection is a problem. There's clear zone issues. There's drop-off hazards. It's just a very unique road, and we've struggled with it to try to figure out what to do. The board spent a lot of money trying to do speed studies. We've put in striping. We've put in signs. We've put in three-way stops, just in an effort to try to address the speed issues. Unfortunately, they haven't worked to the degree that we would have liked, and so we're suggesting another alternative, and that would be to adopt a resolution that would, if adopted again, establish a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. That would be effective on May 26, 2023. That would allow us ample time to change the sign, get out there and educate the public. Really, from a county staff perspective, it's really about enforcement. You can set the speed limit wherever you want, but it's about enforcement to help the sheriff in terms of it's a difficult enforcement problem because of the narrow shoulder widths, because there's no areas there that they can set up tactically. They have to use the private property owners' permissions to do that. There's some vacant lots there, but it is a difficult enforcement challenge for law enforcement. With that in mind, staff recommends that the board adopt the resolution. The county's public works staff is available if there are any questions.
Thank you. Long time coming. So, Commissioner Zadowski.
Right. Madam Chair, Mr. McIntyre, excellent presentation of the significant issues that we have on Indian River Drive. As you said, this has been a long time in the works and so on and so forth, and I appreciate the previous boards, and I hope that I'll appreciate this board's future budgeting items to continue to make the safety provisions that we know that are working into the next budget year. You raised, Mr. McIntyre, you raised some of the conversation that I have been moving about in my brain as to the empty lots that do exist along the drive. They're overgrown, they're unimproved, and I'm wondering if it'd be possible from a legal perspective is to contact the property owners and take it upon ourselves as a county to go in and cut back some of the areas that are vacant to an extent in which the say it's 15 foot, whatever the sheriff deems as a safety option for their officers. And that way we would have areas in which enforcement could take place with a safety pull-off and then have the deputies address the issue with the driver. I don't know if that's a legal option. I think that anything that is done with the property owner, with their approval and a letter of approval could be done. While 25 miles an hour is setting the bar low for a reason. Number one is because if Google's and Waze and any other wayfinders see that the speed on particular, I'll use Indian River Drive as an issue, they're going to send people to that area first to alleviate US 1. Well, lowering it to 25 gives us the option and opportunity to keep those folks off of that road and keeping them on a road that really should be accepting that kind of traffic, that being US 1 or Village Green or whichever road other than Indian River Drive. So let me take you back to the question that I had was, is it possible that the county can enter into negotiations with property owners to have us cut back areas so that they could be used as pull-offs to have safe operations for enforcement?
Yes, sir. I think it's entirely possible. We could enter into license agreements or even temporary easements with the property owners. A suggestion for consideration. Perhaps we should meet with our public works staff, our property acquisition staff, in the sheriff's office. The gentleman that came one time, I think we called him a captain, but I think he was either a sergeant or a lieutenant. But that the gentleman in charge of that patrol, and meet with them and try to decide where's the optimum place. Where would they suggest? There's a number of vacant lots on the drive. Where would they suggest? And work in coordination with them, and then we can contact the property owner to see if they're willing to grant us a license agreement that would allow us perhaps to trim the bushes and establish an area there for pullouts where the sheriff could do it. We could certainly do that.
And I hope the board will help us support that. And the last thing I just want to say as we consider this is I want to thank the citizens of Indian River Drive for being vocal and coming out and talking to each of us as the board members, and then also our staff, trying to find ways to be successful in making the road more safe. But the one thing it always comes back to is we cannot legislate responsible driver behavior. It really takes the citizens who are driving on that road to take it upon themselves to be safe for themselves and those around them. So I just want to get that on the record. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain it.
Madam Chair, I agree with what Chris had said, especially regarding the last statement. You cannot legislate bad people by making more laws. I'd like to add something to the legislation that we can monitor it and see if it actually is going to work. I have struggled with, we have people on staff, including myself, and I know several people that use the drive to come back and forth from Fort Pierce, and it just seems like the good people tend to get punished while the bad people never abide by the laws anyway. So again, it becomes that legislation problem or the enforcement problem, excuse me. So if we could put it in the resolution to have a study done to see if it actually has lowered the speed limit, and then make a decision on making it permanent afterwards.
Well, we've already done a lot of studies, and I'm not in support of spending more money for another study. I mean, we have gotten this far because of what we've done in the past, and this has to take effect and be in effect for a while before you would do a study.
Understand.
Yeah, so you would want this in effect for a while, and again, the sheriff's department to be out there, giving tickets to see if it's going to be effective a year or two down the road. So that's a conversation to come back to.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, if it's helpful, the speed monitors that are actually out there actually collect data, times and dates and speeds and so on and so forth, and that's an important data collection opportunity for us. The other is I have frequent reports from the sheriff as to what the detail has done, how many folks they've pulled over, what has been the general speed. You have the outliers that are 73 miles an hour. I don't know where that person's driving to or why, but and then you have the others that are below the speed limit, and the average rate is about 6 to 7 miles an hour over the current 35. So it's a challenge, and I appreciate your suggestion that yes, we're punishing the good people, but hopefully it's really more about the Waze, the Googles, and keeping people off the drive because it's a slower proposition.
Because the algorithms pick that up too. So if it's a lower speed, whenever the Waze and all that, so.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just a couple quick comments. First of all, Port St. Lucie has lowered the speed limit. What the? Sorry.
$20.
See, I like that.
Jamie, that was to call you guys. That was an SOS. I don't know. So, anyways, Port St. Lucie has reduced their speed limits in all residential areas to 25 miles an hour. It has not been in place long enough to really see how successful it is, but in talking to law enforcement, I will tell you that they certainly see a difference. But that's the key, is that we have to have that coordination with the county and law enforcement. The other thing is in the last couple of weeks, I've had the occasion to go to Indian River Drive on a couple of different things, and there are residents that are willing to allow law enforcement in their driveway, in their easements. Now, I don't pretend to know what the job is of law enforcement and whether that particular driveway is going to be in an area that's not right on a curve or whatever they look at. So I think that, as Commissioner Zadowski said, this is thanks to the residents there. And we have residents that want to see a change. We want to see a change. We need to move those people off Indian River Drive. It is such a beautiful scenic highway. We need to be able to drive it, see it, and enjoy it. So just wanted to throw that out. Thank you.
Anybody else? Would you like to make the motion, Commissioner Sadowski? It's your.
Madam Chair, move approval.
You've worked hard on this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. I think we have my T next. Commissioner Lee, thank you, though. I mean, you are correct, but we've spent a lot of time on this, so we're there. I mean, we're not ever going to get there until people want to be responsible for their own actions. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Maite Santamaria, Deputy County Administrator. The item before you today is a proposed interlocal agreement for the Avenue D Model Block project between the county, the city of Fort Pierce, and the Fort Pierce Redevelopment Agency, or their CRA. As identified in the city's 2020 CRA redevelopment plan, the Avenue D Model Block project comprises of multiple parcels of land separately owned by the various parties listed and are generally located between Avenue D, North 7th Street, and North 8th Street in Fort Pierce. The combined parcels total approximately 5.8 acres that are on your screen before you. This item was previously discussed at your informal meeting on March 7th, as well as the joint meeting with the City of Fort Pierce on March 28th, and in fact, the city had it on their consent agenda last night for approval with their commission. The interlocal agreement proposes a two-phased approach for this project. The first phase would be requesting letters of interest. The county would take the lead in that procurement process and issuing those requests. Once received, those letters are intended to gauge the interest of the possible vendors and developers that are out there in the project and provide a conceptual idea of the development of the property with the collective goals of improving the quality of life to the existing residents around the Avenue D corridor, inviting economic opportunities, attracting businesses, providing affordable housing, and enhancing community services. Once the letters of interest are received by the parties, the county, the city, and the Fort Pierce Redevelopment Agency would each appoint representatives to review those responses. The review committee would then recommend if and how we continue to proceed with Phase 2. Phase 2 of the project could include drafting and issuing requests for proposals or any other type of invitation for the specific use or possible group of uses on the property. Again, this would be a collaborative project with the city, the CRA, and the county to realize the redevelopment concept of the 2020 Fort Pierce Redevelopment Agency Community Development Plan and realize the mutual benefits as outlined on the screen before you today. And with that, staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Any questions?
Madam Chair, I'd like to bring some information to the table, if that's okay. You're looking at the graph on the right-hand side. You have it outlined in yellow. And if you go to the top of the screen, you see that's the fire station. That's fire station 14. And so if you're looking at that picture, you see a tree between the current building that's sitting there that's going to be demolished and then the fire station. I had actually just yesterday had a meeting with the fire chief for our fire board meeting coming up. And as part of the conversation, I raised it to them, and they said, well, actually perfectly located, if they could add a third bay to that station there on Avenue D, they could add a ladder truck. And why is that important? Well, if the ladder truck is the first on scene, it has to hook up to the hydrant. So then you take the actual ladder usage out of the equation. So if we can send an engine that actually goes and hooks up to the hydrant, the ladder can be brought in at a later time or simultaneously and used as the ladder function. So just out of consideration, as this building gets demolished and how this comes forward, I would just ask that we have a consideration that the space, you could probably put that bay in there, but there are setbacks from the city that would need to be taken into consideration. And given its location, you literally have North and South Beach you cover. You have Station 7, which is in Lakewood Park, Station 1 at Central, right behind us. Station 2, which is on South Beach, right there on Seaway Drive, and Station 6, which is off of Midway Road. So you can see the geographical area in which you have that coverage for that particular opportunity for a ladder truck to be staged there. So not that I want to go forward with this, absolutely, but that's actually come forward in recent times. We were just last week having our ISO folks come in and take a look at what we were doing, and we were 30 seconds to a minute behind because we were using a ladder truck to hook in, and so our response times were 30 seconds to 1 minute late. So we need to figure out how to do that, and this was a suggestion by Chief Spera and pointed it out to us. So if it's something we can consider. But I'm supportive of moving this forward. Just however this comes forward, just have that as a consideration in the background.
No, it makes sense.
And Madam Chair, we also have Kings Landing coming in, so we also have Kings Landing coming in. So
right. Oh yeah, 11 stories.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Who would like to make the motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Did you get that, Madam Secretary? It was Commissioner Zadowski and Commissioner Bart seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Maite. We'll move on to item 4. Mr. Landry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to introduce the item, if that's okay. Just give general background, turn it over to Mr. Landry to talk about the business deal. Once he's done, then I'll come back and finalize the recommendation. Just in way of history, I know the board's aware of this, but for the members of the public who are here and are watching, based on a prior recommendation from prior county administration, the county built a 28,000 square foot hangar and related facilities on a spec basis without a prospective tenant. The cost to construct the hangar was $8.7 million. We financed a portion of it. We got a grant from the Economic Development Administration for it. Currently, we're paying about $20,000 a month in debt service. The grant from the Economic Development Administration was $1.6 million. It contemplated the creation of jobs. We've attempted on 3 prior procurements to obtain a tenant to occupy the hangar without success. We most recently terminated negotiations with the prior vendor, and the board directed staff to expedite. That was in March of last month, March 17th. The board directed staff to expedite the MRO hangar as a priority because of the debt service in the EDA grant. Madam Chair, I'm pleased to report that we were successful, and at this point, I'll turn it over to Mr. Landry, who will outline the business components of the proposed lease.
So thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Madam Chair, Commissioners, as you can see from Mr. McIntyre's excitement, we're pleased to bring before you for consideration this unsolicited proposed lease agreement on the MRO hangar with Olympus Aviation. We'll share a few of the details with you. The original terms that they had submitted in their unsolicited proposal were for $12 a square foot on the 31,500 square foot hangar, which equates to approximately $387,000 annually, for a 3-year lease with a automatic 2-year renewal and some concessions made by the county. However, we were successful in our ability to negotiate, and we were able to get that to $13 per square foot, which equates to $409,500 per year. And the only concession is for some flooring and such inside the 3,000 square foot part of the unfinished office space. We also requested that the 2-year extension be made mutually agreed upon. And the reasons for that is, as we move forward with our plan of the airport and the board's future vision of that airport, we wanted to maintain some control and have that ability to be, when we get to that 3-year point, if Olympus is still is working well, our relationship is going well, and we're in a good spot, and what they're offering is in line with our vision, then we can extend that 2 years. Olympus has also asked if there was some opportunity for conversation, if they had some willingness to expand into more area of the airport after we get to know each other through this process. So we did say we would consider future discussions with no obligations locked in whatsoever with that. So pending any of your questions, I'll turn it back over to Mr. McIntyre to finish it up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Attached to the memorandum is a draft facilities lease agreement for the MR hangar between the county and Olympus. The EDA has actually approved the lease. That's one of the conditions, and they have issued a letter. In terms of discussion, consistent with the board direction provided at the board's March 17th special meeting, county staff did indeed prioritize the leasing of the hangar due to the debt service obligations and grant expectations. The proposed lease agreement only includes the MRO hangar, separating the hangar lease from the future development of Aero East and Aero West and other airport development will allow the county to take a prudent, reasoned approach to future development of the remaining property at the airport. The proposed term of the lease, as outlined by Mr. Landry, 3 years, will allow Olympus and the county to determine if Olympus's proposed use of the MRO hangar is consistent with the county and the board's vision for the development of the airport. In terms of recommendations, staff recommends that the board approve the lease agreement, authorize the chair to sign the lease agreement as finally reviewed and approved by the county attorney.
Thanks. This is an exciting day. It's finally happening.
Is this where we put Cameron on the spot and make him feel like...
I was going to say,
just kidding.
Is Cameron here? He is. Cameron, come up here and introduce yourself.
You're welcome. People need to know you, man.
They need to see your face because good things are on the horizon.
Exactly.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I've met a couple of you. I think I'm meeting you right after formally. But my name's Cameron. I've been the airport manager for approximately 2 months now. So slowly making my way into the city and county. So I'm happy to be here.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Cameron.
Okay. Well, I'm excited that we finally have a tenant in this hangar.
So you've been working hard on this. Do you want to make the motion that you can pass the gavel?
I will
to
pass the
whoever?
gavel to Commissioner Bartz, and I'm going to make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Nice job.
Thank you. And
Nice
thank you,
job.
George, for seeing it through.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. We appreciate the support.
Okay. We'll move on to the next item, which is item 5, which was the burn that we put into place.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This item is asking the board to ratify the Public Safety Director's declaration of local emergency and the county administrator's order banning open-air burning in the county. We did that on April the 7th in response to the request from the fire chief of the fire district due to drought conditions at that time. Madam Chair, as we've always do on these emergencies, we try to ask the board to ratify them because ultimately the board is responsible for any emergency actions. We did that during the COVID emergency, as you'll remember, and we've done it before on hurricane issues as well. So with that in mind, staff recommends that the board approve Resolution 23-60 ratifying the Public Safety Director's declaration of emergency and extensions, and also the county administrator's order banning open-air burning in St. Lucie County. Those are for past actions. We are looking, I think, in conjunction with the fire district, as far as the drought conditions. They change every day. We did get a lot of rain recently, and so if we don't need to extend the emergency, we will not.
Thank you. What's the will of the board? I need a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll go on to item 6.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. This item, just in way of background, relates to the board's funding policy for nonprofit agencies. We have historically funded those over a period of time. It's been a struggle, honestly, from a staff perspective, probably from a board perspective, to try to determine which agencies are worthy of funding. And because all these agencies are good in the sense that their goals are good, they're good people, their programs are good, and so we've struggled with it. We've entered into a partnership in the past with United Way. We've terminated that relationship, and the board formalized that this morning. We have just tried to, at a staff level, tried to figure out how to deal with nonprofit funding. We are recommending today that the board sunset the nonprofit grant program effective for next fiscal year. This is something you can talk about in your budget deliberations as well. We have certain line items in the budget. Some are statutorily mandated. Those are easy, like New Horizons. Some we believe are appropriate because these organizations, such as the Hands Clinic, serve as your alter ego. In other words, you're funding them, but what they do in the case of Hands Clinic, as just one example, is they divert people that would otherwise show up at the emergency room of local hospitals that the county would end up paying for. And so it's money well spent. It's analogous to the pretrial program where you try to intervene and prevent people from staying in the jail that really don't need to be there. The Hands Clinic provides medical services, dental services, I believe, as well, to underprivileged people who perhaps can't afford that service, and it does prevent. It's better to prevent diseases and health issues from happening rather than to wait till they do. It's a lot better for everybody involved. So with that in mind, we do recommend that you sunset the program. It's just an issue that there's no, I think, right or wrong answer. You could easily say it's appropriate to continue to fund it. You could say that it's appropriate to sunset it and phase it out. We've talked about it a couple times at informal meetings. The board has had a divergence of opinion on this issue, and it's appropriate because it is a difficult issue. When I was acting county administrator, I promised the government relations people that I would present this item, and I've satisfied that promise. So here we are. we're recommending sunsetting it.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Conversation with the board?
Madam Chair, this is a tough one. As we know, the challenges are that, we made it a point 3 years ago, and you and I were in that, or actually Commissioner Bartz was there too. And we made it a point to say, look, we need to see the return on the investment. We have to have better reporting, more transparency, all the things you would expect from good government. And we did that. The unfortunate part of that is it becomes a political thing as opposed to an operational thing or an administrative issue. And that happened. And there are also others who are well entitled, or intended to do the right thing in their operations as a nonprofit. But unfortunately, for 3 years, we've been trying to send that message, and some nonprofits didn't really get that. And then it turned around and it was pointing at us as though we didn't do something appropriately, which was just absolutely wrong. And I'm still a little bit miffed about how that turned around and it was pointed at us when we gave 3 years knowledge to say, you need to do the reporting, you need to be transparent, you need to do the return on the investment process and show what the value of that investment is of taxpayer dollars. That's what we protect, and we've done that. We've been very good about that, and I think that the time has come that during the budget discussion is we need to figure out a better way, if that's even possible. Again, nonprofits do a lot of work that we can't do. They specialize in things that we don't want to do, and there's a place for it. But the fact that we took the time, we worked so hard, we brought the United Way in, they got a black eye for no reason, simply because they did what we told them to do. And there were some challenges because the documentation that was coming in wasn't appropriate to the way the message or the system was set up. So I'm gonna support this today, just asking that each of us take a look at it during budget and really have an open conversation about how that can happen. Because again, there are those such as the Hands Clinic, the New Horizons, et cetera, that really save us taxpayer dollars. So
No, I agree. I think that in budget is when we'll have the conversation. There are a lot of nonprofits that are there, and they really do, and they are accountable, and they do a lot for the community. And I agree. There's a lot of things they do that we can't do, nor do we need to be involved with. So I'm looking forward to having the conversation because I see a lot of line items of what we want to identify. And Hands Clinic is definitely top priority for me. So is there any other conversation?
Madam Chair, I agree. We can always, again, at budget time, look and see what we can move into a line item. And I'm all for essentially ripping the Band-Aid off and just getting it done and over with.
Okay. So is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Brings us to Ben. You're bringing up the rear this morning.
Out this morning. Good morning, Chair Townsend and Commissioners. Ben Balser, Planning and Development Services Director for the record. Agenda item 10C1 is the administrative approval update for the month of March. The first project is a minor adjustment to the Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute's planned mixed-use development, allowing for a 1,900 square foot building to be used as an office for an aquaculture facility that operates on Harbor Branch's campus. The building was constructed in 1997 and previously served as the visitor center and school office. The minor adjustment allows for this new use and includes restriping the existing parking stalls and construction of a crosswalk within the parking area for safe pedestrian access. The next project is a major adjustment to the minor site plan for the Lake Forest Assisted Living Facility on South 25th Street. The approval recognized the increase in the number of beds permitted within the 27,000 square foot building from 68 to 79. The site plan adjustment includes the addition of 4 parking stalls and updated site landscaping. In March, staff approved 2 FPL solar generation sites, which were within the Ag 5 zoning district and eligible for a minor site plan approval. The first is known as the Pineapple Solar Energy Center and is located off of Carlton Road, just west of the existing Sundew solar site. And the other facility is known as FPL Orchard Solar Energy Center and is located approximately 500 feet south of the Indian River County line in northwestern St. Lucie County. This site is also adjacent to the previously approved FPL solar site known as the Pelican Solar Energy Center. And that concludes my presentation for the month of March. If you guys have any questions, let me know.
How many millions of panels do we have?
We have
We're well over a million.
We have the largest solar in the state.
The state.
St. Lucie County does. We're number one.
And a lot more coming.
And I'm quite proud of that. Mr. Landry, would you like to close us out?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Board of County Commissioners will hold a regular meeting on Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the Commission Chambers of the Roger Portis Administration Annex located at 2300 Virginia Avenue, Fort Pierce, Florida. The Board of County Commissioners will hold an informal meeting on Tuesday, May 9th, 2023 at 9 a.m. in the Commission Chambers of the Roger Portis Administration Annex located at 2300 Virginia Avenue, Fort Pierce, Florida. The Board of County Commissioners will hold a regular meeting on Tuesday, May 16th, 2023 at 9 a.m. in the Commission Chambers of the Roger Portis Administration Annex located at 2300 Virginia Avenue here in Fort Pierce, Florida. And that concludes all the announcements for this meeting.
Thanks. Is there any?
So moved.
Okay, motion to approve to leave, and everybody have a wonderful day. Enjoy your week. Oh.